No, yeah, don't look.
Tell me when I'm starting. You're giving me a thumbs up.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Aisha. I'm the Community Kitchen Coordinator at the Table Community Food Centre in Perth, Ontario. Today, we're in my home kitchen. So welcome to the Table at Home, a series of live streams designed to keep us in touch with you over the next several weeks or months. You can join us on Tuesday mornings at 10:30 a.m. or on Thursday afternoons at 1 p.m. to participate in one of our sessions. So let me take a moment before I start cooking, sorry, I'm kind of nervous, to update you on programming at the table. All programming is currently suspended except the community meals and the food bank program. If you would like a community meal, you can come by the table for a takeout on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday between 4 and 6:30 p.m. If you would like to use the food bank, you can pick up a prepackaged box of food for you and your family on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the back parking lot. On Tuesdays, we are a delivery model only. If you need a delivery, please call us by 5 p.m. on Monday to place your order. If you're picking up, you do not need to order. You can just come to the food bank and we will have something ready for you. So today I'm running a community kitchen session here through our live stream. This is what I do at the table. I gather with people to cook alongside with them. Today I'm making a chicken, vegetable, and barley soup. If you've been in any of my programs, you know that I love to make soup, and this is a recipe I use often. I use it because it's versatile, and it's easy, and it's inexpensive, and it's a skill that everyone can pick up very quickly. Often when I'm doing soup, I like to tell my favorite soup story. When my youngest child was in grade 3, he and his best friend Tom had a conversation about soup. And they both decided that they liked soup that was either mushroom or tomato. For both of them, that was their favorite soup. And when Amir came home and told me the story, Amir said that he had said, but not from a can. And then Tom said, but where else does soup come from? So we've always had a big laugh in our house for many years because we like to make our own soup, and our children learn to make soup really early in life, and I'm going to make a soup with you today. I will try to answer your questions as they appear on the screen, but if I don't get to them, rest assured I will get to them this afternoon and respond to any queries or questions that you may have. I will also be posting my recipe and a tip sheet on stock making on the website later today, so you can download that and print it for use at home. Now the recipe I'm using calls for pre-made chicken stock and cooked chicken, which makes it really easy for you to make this at home. I am going to teach you how to make a stock this morning. So, magic of television and all. I've got a chicken that I have pre-cut and put into a pot. So if you're starting with a chicken, you can just cut it, but if you've got a deeper pot, you don't really need to cut it. It's not a really deep pot, so I went ahead and cut my chicken, and I also want to cook it a little more quickly. So when you're making stock, you're going to put your chicken in the pot, you're going to add some aromatics or some flavorings to it. So things like carrots and onions and celery all are a good option. I've got a little bit of onion here, which I'm just going to peel off and just put in 2 big chunks. I've also got 3 really large cloves of garlic that I'm going to smash and add to my pot. So I feel that garlic and onion are pretty essential. You may almost not need to add anything else if you don't want it. A little bit of salt, and a little bit of black pepper. And I'm going to add some herbes de Provence. It's a nice blend of sort of chickeny flavored herbs, I guess, herbs that go with chicken really well. And then I'm gonna top this chicken with water and get it boiling on the stove, and then we'll talk about the soup a little bit. Because I want to move things along a little bit quickly here, I'm actually gonna add a kettle full of hot water, and that'll come to a boil a little more quickly. Now you certainly can add lots more aromatics to this that like deepen the flavor of your stock, and then you can use that stock for soup, or you can drink it if you're sick, slightly warmed. I don't think millions of mothers around the world can be wrong when they tell you to have some chicken soup if you're sick. So it's a great thing to have on hand. I am going to add some more things to it. I tend to try and keep things like the trimmings from the vegetables I'm using today, and I'm just going to pop them on the pot. This might seem like kind of an odd thing to do, but it really does add a lot of flavor to your soup, and it also uses up all those things that you might normally have thrown away. So we've got some bits of squash and cauliflower and carrots and celery, so I chopped carrots and celery for our soup later, and I kept the ends, things I might normally throw away, to put into the stock here. I'm going to fill this with water and try and cover as much of the chicken as I can. Now I'm going to bring this to a boil with a lid on it, and then I'm going to, and I'll show it to you when it's boiling, and then I'm going to drop the temperature so that it's kind of simmering slowly for 45 minutes to an hour with the chicken. You don't, if you're going to use the chicken for soup, you don't want to cook it to the point where there's no flavor left in the meat. So 45 minutes to an hour on simmer is about what you want. If you don't want to do this on your stock pot, on your stove top, because you want to go out for the day, or you'd rather be doing something else other than minding stock, this is a great thing to do in a slow cooker if you have one. Okay, so we're going to get that boiling, and we're going to show it to you. I'm going to show it to you in a few minutes. And just give my hands a little wash as I transition to the next part of the video. Hand washing is always important. It just feels especially important now. Make sure you wash the back, the front of your hands, and in between all the fingers with warm water and soap. At home, try and keep one dishcloth for drying hands and one dishcloth for cleaning up, so that there isn't cross-contamination in your food as well. So this is, as I said earlier, a really versatile recipe where you can use whatever vegetables you want and you like in your soup. I personally don't like potatoes in soup like this, so I don't use potatoes for this. I do have an assortment of vegetables I've got some cauliflower, squash, cabbage, a few green beans I found, and some celery and carrots. I really was trying to use up the vegetables I have in the fridge. I didn't go out and buy anything, so I also think this is a great soup. And soup making generally is really great for using up some vegetables. I'm going to show you how to cut this carrot, because one of the things that you want in this soup is for things to be generally the same size. The point of that being is that they cook together and they sort of cook at the same rate, and also you get kind of a nice mouthfeel when everything is the same size. Not a lot of surprises. Now I'm just cutting these sort of the size of a black bean. That's what I'm aiming for with everything I do. Remember to tuck your fingers in, hold your knife firmly in your cutting hand, and hold your food stable with the other hand. So that's how I did all of the celery and carrots and the squash for this soup. I'm going to start with one medium-sized onion for my soup. I'll give that a cut up. Now, if you wanted to make some vegetable stock, you could start collecting things like onion peelings and potato peelings and all the trimmings of the stuff that we're cutting up today, and keep that in a container. Use the same principles of the stock that I'm making here today, and then you can make yourself vegetable stock that you can use for soups or cooking your rice or adding to stews and curries or anything where you need a little liquid and you might want to use vegetable stock instead of water. So I'm going to use something we call a tunnel cut, and I'm going to slice one way through my onion. I'm going to turn my onion around, make sure I'm holding the onion quite firmly, and go the other way, and again get pieces that are about the size of a black bean. No particular reason for the black bean. It's just that's the size I like. You can cut your vegetables as big or as small as you like. Some people really like chunky soups and maybe just want rounds of carrots and larger pieces of celery and veg. I kind of like my soup with smaller pieces, so I tend to cut small. Okay, let's go and check our stock and see how it's doing. Not quite ready, almost at a boil. I'm going to move it to the back burner here so that I can get started on the soup. We've got about 15 minutes left in this session. That might mean that we don't actually get the soup done, but we will get it on and simmering, and then you will be able to see a picture of it later. I'll post a little picture of what the soup looks like. 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Slow. Really important to heat your pot and your oil up sufficiently. That ensures that your vegetables don't stick to the bottom of the pot while you're sauteing them. First thing that goes in is the onions. Kind of want to make sure I hear a little bit of a sizzle. Then I know my oil and my pot are hot enough. And go the onions. Give that a wee bit of a stir here. I'm going to want to saute the onions until they're kind of translucent so that they've cooked out a little bit before I start adding other vegetables. I'll take a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, I'm going to chop up my garlic. So at the table we tend to use pre-minced garlic that we do in the fall when the garlic comes in from our wonderful garden, and then we freeze it in containers so it's all done. We don't really chop a lot of garlic in community kitchen programs at the table. So if you've never really done one, you take your garlic, just press on it with the back of your hand. That'll split the skin so that you can peel it. Take off the tough ends if there's some. Once it's flattened, you can pile it up and just chop it as finely as you like. Chop it one way, gather it all up, and chop it the other way. Gather it all up, and you just keep going until you get it as fine as you like. I don't mind my garlic a bit coarse, so I'm probably going to stop pretty soon. This technique is called a rock chop. You keep the tip of your knife on your cutting board and you just chop. Scoop it together and chop again. I'm going to take the garlic and add it to my pan and turn the heat down a little bit more because I don't really want to burn the garlic. So now that that's sauteed, and you can see that the onions have softened up a little bit and they're kind of see-through, so translucent, and some of them are starting to brown, which I don't want too much browning. I'm going to add celery and carrots to this mix. About a cup of each, that's what the recipe asks for. This is also the time to add herbs that you might like. If you might like a bay leaf, or you might like oregano or thyme. I'm going to use herbs de Provence just because it's a nice blend, as I said earlier. I like the flavors. So about a teaspoon of dried herbs. These things can all be adjusted to your personal taste. I'm going to add about half a not half a cup, half a teaspoon of salt to this. And a quarter teaspoon of black pepper to this. Once you've got while the celery and carrots are sauteing, I'm going to cut up a couple more vegetables I want to add to the soup. So, as I said, I kind of used this soup as a way to clean out what was in my crisper and maybe didn't have enough for as a side dish or was getting near the end of its life. I've got some green beans here, and I'm going to cut those up and put them into my little bowl. Add nice color. I'm going to start adding my other vegetables. So you can have 5 cups of whatever vegetables you like beyond the carrots and the celery. So as I said earlier, I'm not particularly fond of potatoes in soup, so I've chosen some butternut squash, some cauliflower, and some cabbage, which I'm going to dump into the pot now. I'm going to save the green beans for a few minutes from now because they don't take as long to cook as these hard vegetables do. So you can see it has lots of nice color, meaning lots of nice flavor. So while your vegetables are sauteing, the next thing to add is your chicken. So I made chicken stock yesterday with another one of these little birds, and I pulled the meat off, and it's in a bowl. And we're actually going to just take a look at our stock for a minute. So now it's boiling quite rapidly, and I'm going to turn it down to simmer, and then it's going to simmer for the next 45 minutes to an hour here until the meat is tender and the stock flavor is well developed. You don't actually want to make stock at a rapid boil. A friend once told me that her mother always said, a soup that's boiled is a soup that's spoiled. And sometimes people wonder what that means, and it means that if you're boiling your stock really rapidly, you are going to get a cloudy stock. If you want a nice clear stock, just simmer your meat. Simmer your stock ingredients for that 45 minutes to an hour. Or do it in a slow cooker, because that will guarantee a beautiful stock. We need about 3 cups of diced up chicken. Just checking, make sure I don't have any bones in there. Cutting it into big pieces. I see that Coral, who is my colleague, put up a comment about different flavors for your chicken soup, and definitely you can flavor this any way you want. You could add some ginger and lemon as she suggested, or you can maybe add some cumin and coriander if you like that flavor profile. So I'm going to just pop the chicken in here. And now it's time to add stock. So again, through the magic of television, I have about 8 cups of stock from the chicken I did yesterday, which I'm going to pour right in here. That top layer is fat. If it was particularly thick, I might want to remove it, or if you don't like that, you can also remove it. I kind of do like the flavor it adds to soup, so I'm just going to dump all of my stock in here. And you'll see that when it's cold, it's kind of gelatinous, and that's from all the trace minerals that you pull out of the bones if you've done some long simmering. You want to have enough stock that you're covering all of your vegetables. So if that's all the stock that you had, I do have more, you could add some water to this as well. I'm going to turn the heat up on this so I can bring this to a boil as well. You'll see that our stock over here, the one that we're making, is simmering kind of more gently. and that's the way that we want to keep it until it's fully cooked in about an hour. Okay, so this is going to come to a boil, and then it is also going to simmer for about 35 minutes to cook all the vegetables and develop all the flavors, and then, so we might not see the finished product as I said earlier, but I will show it to you later. So while that's coming to a boil, I'm going to finish prepping the rest of my ingredients. It's kind of a, like if you look at this soup, it's kind of a really nice yellow orangey kind of soup, which is very pretty, but I like a little bit of green, so I'm going to add some green vegetables to this mix now. I prepped up the green beans. Also had some kale in the fridge, some dinosaur kale here, which I'm going to chop to add to the soup as well. You could add some baby spinach. If you prefer, you could leave the greens out if that's not your thing. Add potatoes or sweet potatoes or peas and corn if those are the kinds of things your family enjoys eating and likes to have in soup. Everyone's kind of got their own taste. And this recipe gives you lots of wiggle room to do whatever you like and still get something delicious. So you're going to use a technique that's called chiffonade, which is it's a great way to cut anything leafy. You're going to just pile a bunch of leaves up this way, roll them into a little tiny tight roll, take your knife and just do some nice thin slices. You roll them, you see you have these long, pretty strands of kale. If long strands of kale are kind of not your thing because it feels like too much, just grab your rolls and go through them the other way and you'll chop them a bit smaller pieces. In here. I'm also going to add a little bit of parsley for color and flavor to my soup. So I'm going to do the same thing. I just take my parsley, start with a whole stem and you just pull the leaves off. Roll them into a tight little roll. Keeping them tight, just sort of cut through them one way. Bunch them all up. Cut through them the other way. Bunch them all up again. And chop through them. Get them as small as you like. They're mostly going to be a garnish, so they're not really going to go in until the end. And also at the end, I'm going to add a green onion for a nice fresh flavor. Also because I had one green onion in the fridge and I wanted to use it up, so here you go. Just keep that for adding as the soup finishes off. Now, I said earlier that this is a chicken, barley, and vegetable soup. So wondering where the barley is? You can add the barley so I've got some barley over here. Got some uncooked in this little cup. This is about half a cup of uncooked barley. You can add it to your soup now and it'll cook for about 45 minutes before it's all done. I personally like to add my barley cooked for a couple of reasons. It shortens my simmering time on my soup, and it also doesn't sort of absorb all the stock in cooking the barley, and you get a less of a cloudy, starchy kind of soup when you pre-cook your grains. Barley is my choice of grain for this soup. You could use wild rice or white rice or brown rice or pasta. With any of those things, I actually do recommend that you cook it a little bit first. So I've cooked my barley until it's al dente, which means I can bite it with my tooth. And also, it's still firm, but it's soft. So I can eat it, but it's still firm. I've rinsed it, so I've rinsed off all of those starches that are on the outside, and I can add it to my soup in just a minute. I'm gonna wash my hands. let's just check on our soup. So not quite at a boil. I would actually like to see it boil before I add the barley and the kale and the green beans. So it's almost there in another minute or so. So I don't know if there's any questions online. We can discuss some of the flavors or whatever things like that can go into a soup like this. I've tried to make this recipe super versatile so you can actually add whatever you like. We've suggested different kinds of grains can go in here. If you are not a grain eater, I know a lot of people are kind of giving up eating grains. You don't have to add that. You could also add some chickpeas or black beans or kidney beans for a little extra boost of protein and a little bit of texture in your soup. Let's go and we'll add the barley and to our soup. Put in the barley, add a little stir around. And the kale and green beans. I do actually want them to cook. I don't want them crunchy at the end. So now you're getting an idea of what the soup is going to look like when it's finished in about 30 minutes or so. Unfortunately, we've only got about 5 minutes or 3 minutes left in this live stream, so I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon. But you're going to bring this to a boil and then simmer it like we're simmering the stock over here. So just a gentle roll happening, and that you can cook for about 30 minutes until the vegetables are done to your liking and you feel the flavors are well developed. I'm going to look at the stock for a second. In stock making, you want to create this ring of vegetables around your pot. That's called the bird's nest. And when you're getting a bird's nest, that's when you're getting your stock at the right temperature to extract all the flavors and to create some more moist meat and clear broth. I'm a little obsessed with stock making. Ask any of my colleagues. They'll back me up on that one. So we're going to put that in there. As the soup's finished, I'm just about done here. When the soup's finished or almost finished, I'm going to add the green onions and the parsley and stir it through. I'll adjust the seasonings. I'll have a little spoonful and maybe add some salt and pepper if I need it. You could also add a little squirt of lemon juice if you kind of like that bright lemony flavor in your soup. I think we're ready to wrap it up. So thank you for being here today and joining me while I make chicken soup. As I said, if there are questions on the Facebook live stream, I will answer them this afternoon. I will also post the recipe and the stock making tip sheet. Now that's for making chicken stock, not for the stock market, just so you know. And I'll post those on the website and you can pick them up and download them this afternoon. Thanks very much for being here. See you again. Have a great day.